Hello and welcome to Helping Other People Excel, or HOPE as we like to call it. And we're glad that you could join us today for this half hour, and appreciate you letting us come into your home and spend this half hour with you. I hope that somehow today will be a blessing to you and minister to your heart some hope, to your future and to your life, and maybe to someone you know. So thank you again for tuning in to us today. To start our show, I always try to give some credit to our sponsors, and so I'd like to thank Pamper Me Naturally at pampermenaturally.com. They have a fine line of handmade and homemade products that are all natural, no chemicals, and of course they like to tell you to read the ingredients list on the stuff you're using, and if it's any length at all, if it happens to be too long, or if it has any of those super long words like super hydroxyhexamine then you might not want to use that on your skin. Take the ingredients challenge and look at that, and then look at our products ingredients list, and they're all nice and short with Pamper Me Naturally, and all ingredients that you know. Most of the time it's things you can eat because they use food grade everything, and it's all nice and natural for your skin. So pampermenaturally.com for a fine list of soaps and hand lotions and lip balms and healing salves and things of that nature that you can use on your skin and for your family. And then in addition to that, we have Perry's Place up in Cedar Springs, 90 North Main, Cedar Springs, and he's got a nice little shop there of fine herbs and teas and more, which more includes massage therapy, energy work. I think they even have some with the needles, acupuncture. I knew I'd get it sooner or later. But anyway, all the natural things for helping you to live a better life and to help you heal better and get stronger. Perry himself has got problems with wheat and with dairy products, so all of the products in his store are for those that are gluten-free and wheat dairy-free. He's got some good safe products for that, and many recommendations for that because he goes through that in his own life. So stop up and see Perry at Perry's Place. Let him know that you saw our ad here on Helping Other People Excel, and tell him I said hello and I sent you. So to start out our show today, I would like to talk with you a little bit. I've got a couple of quotes. First one comes from Shams Tabrizi. I don't know who that is, but I really enjoyed what he had to say. He said here that this world is like a mountain. Your echo depends on you. If you scream out good things, the world will give it back to you. If you scream out bad things, the world will give it back. Even if someone says badly about you, speak well about him. Change your heart to change the world. And you know, that kind of follows along with the theme of our show all along, is we've tried to express to everybody and to help us all understand that by changing our hearts and by changing ourselves, we will truly change our world. And so I really liked that because it kind of went along with that. This winter I hope to winter out in somewhere a little bit warmer other than Michigan. And how I'm going to bring my show to you from wherever I'm at, I'm not exactly sure. I might have to make a few of them up ahead of time maybe before I take off. But I'm hoping to tour the Midwest a little bit, Southwest, get out to Arizona. I've never been out there, but you know, they've got some beautiful bluffs, and with the Grand Canyon, it's so deep and so big and so vast, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that. But in seeing that, I believe that I'm going to really be able to appreciate and understand what that little quote's all about. I imagine I'll stand at the edge of the Grand Canyon and give a shout out and say, hey, 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 and hear it echo back. Obviously, what I get echoed back in that scenario is not near as strong or as loud as what we yell out. But in life, it seems to be the opposite way. It seems like the more that you put out from yourself, good or bad, and you've heard me talk about Earl Nightingale and his The Strangest Secret video, which you can find on YouTube. But the more we send out, the more we get that back, and it seems like it gives it back to us louder than what the echo would be when we yell out at a canyon. So in that respect, it's not like the mountain. It's the echo is different because in what we echo back from when we yell out in a mountain, it comes back to us so much quieter, whereas what we think in our minds and what we speak to ourselves comes back to us multiplied, like planting corn or something, like Earl Nightingale says. Planting corn in a field, you put one little kernel in the ground and yet you get a plant with multiple ears, and how many hundreds of kernels are on each ear, you know. So in that regard, I think that things are a little bit different, but still the principle is the same. And what they're trying to say there, I believe, is that what you yell out, the things that you say, the things that you project from yourself out into the world to other people, is going to return back to you in the same kind, but multiple fold. And so if you aren't liking maybe the way people treat you, if you think that they treat you poorly or whatever, then I'd like to encourage you to reconsider what it is that you're sending out, what it is that you're projecting to other people. Because since that is what comes back to us, then maybe we need to change that. And of course, changing that requires the way that we change the way we think. And we've talked about that so many other times, in changing how we think, changing the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It's more than just how you think at the moment, but it's changing your thought processes, it's changing your thought habits. And I saw another thing earlier today that reminded me of that, about changing our habits. If you want to change your life, you have to take all your bad habits and replace them with good habits. And that's one of those that we really don't consider a habit, because we really don't, it's something that happens almost instinctually, and so consequently you don't realize that it's habitual. But it's that habitual thinking, it's that stuff that we've been thinking, and that training we've given ourselves since childhood, maybe that comes from our parents even, or from our grandparents maybe to our parents, and from our parents on to us, that has shaped our thinking and our thought processes to a point where we send out maybe the wrong image from what we would like to send out to others, and consequently what we get back is not what we'd like to get back. It's thoughts of maybe inadequacy, or feelings of not being good enough, insecurities. And so we really have to take a look at those things. But how amazing it is that by just changing what we plant in our mind, by changing just how we think, we can create hope for ourselves and our future, because it changes the way other people respond to us. And I think that that's just absolutely amazing, that and that it can be that simple, that we can do something just like that and still get such drastic results and such changed lives. And in the company I work with, and I'd like to maybe put in a plug for my own website at the moment. You can look at the tiny URL website that JB will put on the screen for you here. But if you go to that website, you can look at our products there, and you can see all of these things that are designed to help us change the way we think. And when you listen to a CD, if you listen to CDs regularly, or the Earl Nightingale video from YouTube, or whatever it is, what it is that we put into our minds really is what ends up being how we think. And then of course how we think ends up being how other people treat us, because they merely echo back to us what we've presented out or sent out to them. And so it's important for us to change the way we think. But what we've got there in those CDs and books is a systematic method of helping us change the way we think. Now, you can go to college and you can sit down in a college room at a desk, and you've got your textbooks, and you can cram for that test, and you can study, and when it comes time for the test, you can spit out the right answers. But typically you're studying just the night before, the day before, trying to keep all that stuff fresh in your mind, so when you take this test, it's fresh. But what about a week later or a month later, when it's time for you to sit down and recall some of those things? It's so much harder for us to remember them, because it wasn't ingrained in us. It wasn't changing our way of thinking. It was merely changing for the moment what we thought. And if you do that, you change things for the moment, but you don't change things long term, because what happens is like a rubber band, you stretch that rubber band out, and for the moment it's much bigger and it can go around something much bigger. But when you let go of it, it goes back to its original size, and now all of a sudden it doesn't fit anything bigger. Of course, unless you've already stretched it over the bigger item. But that's the example. What I'm trying to say is, if you take and stretch the rubber band and you put it over something at that point, and when you let go of it, it stays large and it stays big around and it holds that shape. And if you don't put it over something and you just stretch it out and then let go of it, it goes back to small again. And our thinking is the same way. If we just do it temporarily and stretch it out, we've thought differently for a moment, but it doesn't stay. When we let go, then it goes back to our old method of thinking, our old way of thinking, our old attitudes and thought process we have toward ourselves. And there was a fella that I listened to on one of our CDs. His name is Rob Robson. Life is not as it is what he said. Life is as you are. So your life is unique to you because of who you are and what your thought processes are and your attitudes and so on. That makes up your life. And if you want something different in your life, all you really have to do is change those thought processes, and all of a sudden you shift around into a new life and a different attitude, and you stretch that rubber band out and you now put it over something bigger, and it will stay there rather than go back to small. And so the CDs and the books that we have, and reading a book is good. You learn a lot of really good stuff, but then you've heard it once, and next week when you let go of the rubber band, your thinking goes back to the way it was. And very few of us, or very few of the thoughts that we gain from reading the book are stuck with us. Most of them are kind of forgotten, and we have to reread. And so the more often sometimes that we reread these books, and then of course highlighting the books, that's a really good thing, because as you read, you find something that really jumps out at you, and when you run that highlighter over it, you've already read it once, and as you run the highlighter over it, you're reading it again, and sometimes you read it again before you run the highlighter over it. So now you've read that little section 3 times, and of course it makes it much easier to go back and find it later. If somebody's asking you a question, you go, oh yeah, I remember reading about that. You flip your page over and there's your little mark, and so it's easy to find that way. But it just really helps to reassert it into your brain and helps it change the way you think rather than just hearing it once. It's kind of like taking a bath once. Many of us could say, yeah, when I was a kid I took a bath once, but taking a bath once is not enough. You got to take a bath every day. Sometimes maybe a couple times a day you might need to take a bath, depending on what it is that you're doing. But if you don't take a bath regularly, eventually you stink. And same is true with our thinking. If we don't refresh in our minds those good thoughts on a regular basis, if we don't keep them fresh in our mind and scrub our minds daily with that and get all the dirt off, then we really end up stinking thinking. And we don't need any stinking thinking. We got plenty of that out there today, and maybe that has something to do with why we have so much of it out there today, because people aren't reading and they aren't listening. But with the CDs, for example, you put those in your car every day and you listen to those on your way to work, or on your way home from work, or on your way to the store, or wherever you're going. Put them in your MP3 player and plug those little earbuds in, and instead of listening to Metallica, which I happen to like Metallica, but they don't do anything for me. They don't uplift me. They don't encourage me. They don't inspire me. They help me maybe express my feelings of anger, but they don't help me do anything about them. They maybe make those feelings of anger worse, and like I said, nothing wrong with Metallica. I really like them myself. That was one of my favorite bands. But lately I've been trying to put good stuff in my head. I've been trying to put things that are going to benefit me and help me move forward in life and help me achieve some goals and some dreams and some visions. I've been trying to work on putting that in my head on a regular basis so that it stretches that rubber band and it puts the rubber band over those thoughts and ideas so that it stays where it is when I let go of it, rather than going back to my small stinking thinking that so often had happened in the past. Years ago, I remember reading Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, maybe 35 years ago, maybe now. And I remember at the time thinking what a good book that was, and I, was like glad I read it and really encouraged by it. But, that was 35 years ago, and, if I wouldn't have took a bath for 35 years, whew, man, that'd be a pretty ripe stuff right there, So, I waited too long to reread that book. Now I've more recently read it 3 times, maybe in the last year and a half. So reading every 6 months. But it keeps it fresh in my mind, and it refreshes me and helps me retrain my thoughts, which is really so important. That repetition, hearing it over and over again. Maybe you think, this stuff that Jim's talking about on helping other people excel, maybe that's repetitious, and I've already heard that. And, can he say something new? For one thing, I guess, there really is nothing new under the sun. Everything has really been thought of before and said before. What I've got to tell you today is not anything new. Earl Nightingale said it, Dale Carnegie and David Schwartz in The Magic of Thinking Big, and Frank Betcher and How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Sales. Those men have all already had the same thoughts that I've had, that I'm sharing with you and expressing with you. But it's good to hear it from a different one every once in a while, because and that's why I really want to encourage you to read those books, because they really are amazing in themselves. But when you hear it from Frank Betcher's perspective, it's different than when you hear it from Dr. David Schwartz's perspective and Dale Carnegie's perspective. Every time you hear it from a different one, the perspective is a little different, and some of that tends to strike home, and it tends to keep hitting my microphone. Tends to make more sense to us, than it does with others. We relate more to one person than another. I personally really like Dr. David Schwartz and The Magic of Thinking Big, and to me that book has just been a real inspiration. It just really struck home and hit me to a point where I don't know what you'd say, I really related to it, I guess, more so than the other ones, but the other ones are good too. I just really like that one. And you'll develop your own ones, which you like. Maybe you'll like Dale Carnegie better. And that's why we have all those different ones, is because we're all different people, and it's important for us to learn from different people that maybe relate to us more than others do. So at any rate, I also have another nice little quote here that I ran across. I really, so oftentimes Facebook is so full of crap. A friend of mine calls it fake book. And, there's all the drama and all of the rest of the stuff. But you know what? There's a lot of good stuff there too. And if you take the time to look for it, and what I found is if you not only look for it, but if you like the things that are really good, then you just overlook and ignore and don't comment or don't respond to the drama, eventually Facebook starts putting more and more of the good things in front of you, and the drama seems to fade back into the background, and that's a good thing, because none of us need any more drama in our world. There's plenty of that on the TV and in the news and on the sitcoms and so many others, So, but this little quote came from a website that I really like called Collective Evolutions, and they post a lot on Facebook, and I really enjoy what many of the things they have to say. I don't agree with everything, but so oftentimes they have good stuff. And it said here, it talks about how so oftentimes in life that we have setbacks, and we have things that don't go our way. We're troubled by a flat tire and a detour, and I think I've talked maybe last week about a story where a bunch of obstacles were in my way throughout the day, but it put me at the right spot at the right time to be able to help somebody that was in need. And I thought that was just such an amazing thing, and looking back on it, how that all worked out, and who could have possibly arranged all of those details in my life so that when it came right down to it, I was there to help one person who was in need with the right information, the right equipment. I had a van with a trailer hitch, and his trailer hitch broke, and I was 2 car lengths behind him when it broke. And how my day had been ordered and structured in such a way that I got there at just the right time, at just the right place to be a helpful assistant to them. But you know, so oftentimes we look at those little details that hold us back and we say, oh, why is the road closed? You know, I need to get through there, and I don't want to take a detour. I'm late. I'm in a hurry. And all of these things occur. And, you know, why can't those pizza people do their job a little faster? You know, it shouldn't take this long to get a pizza, for God's sake, you know, and all of that. And what this little quote here says is that an arrow can be shot by pulling it backwards. When life is dragging you back with difficulties, flat tire, the detours, the delays at places, it means that it's going to launch you into something great. So just focus and keep aiming. And you know, I thought that was so good that when we start experiencing all those things, it's not the time to dwell on the fact that it's holding you back, or it's delaying you, or it's causing you some inconvenience, but it's more the time to be looking at it and saying, all right, I'm about ready to get launched here. What is it that I can be doing? What is it that's going to be coming from this that I need to deal with so that I can help someone, or so that I can move ahead in my own life and launch forward, you know? And I thought it was so true, and such an interesting perspective that as you pull back on that arrow, that's a lot of times like life pulling back on us, and we're trying to go forward, and yet we've got to go back before we can actually go forward. And when that gets let go, when we get pulled back to the right tension, the right amount of stress. So stress in our lives is good, but when we get to the right stress and the right tension, and that's let go, all of a sudden it propels us forward, and we're shot forward. We're literally launched into some new adventure, or some new development, or some new way in which we can help people. And I think that that's so important. So let that be an encouragement to you as you go through your week. If you feel like life is pulling you back, keep your aim, keep your focus, and say, okay, there's something here. There's a little saying that says there's a silver lining in every cloud. And so if you look around, when you see, I don't know how many of you have seen, sometimes at sunset there's a big storm clouds coming through and the sun's going down behind us, and the light shines on that cloud. And even though it's black and dark and ugly and rolling even, there's this silver lining, or this silver crust along the top that just stands out and reflects so much light and is so brilliant and bright. And that little saying about there's a silver lining in every cloud, that's kind of what that's all about, is that it doesn't matter about the storm clouds that come to our life. There's a silver lining there somewhere if we look for it. And that's the key, is that we've got to be focused like that arrow. We've got to stay focused on what it is that might be coming our way, that God has sent for us to do. What is it where's that target? What is it we're aiming for? What is it we want to do with our lives? What is our goals? Where do we want to end up? What lifestyle do you want to live? Do you want to stay where you're at? Are you happy where you are? If you're not, then you need to get that focus, and you need to get that aim, and be thinking about where it is you want to go, because what you plant in your mind, that is what you become. Earl Nightingale says what we think about most is what we are, or what we become. So I want to encourage you as you go through this week to spend that time, maybe take a little time in the morning, and you know, kind of what I do. I've got a bunch of pictures that I've downloaded off the internet that I've saved in one little folder called Dream Board, you know, and it's my little board of dreams and of goals and of ambitions and things that I'd like to accomplish. Maybe a car that I'd like to have, or a motorcycle that I'd like to have, or maybe an airplane, or someday being able to live on a tropical island or a beach somewhere. You know, those are some of my thoughts. I'm a single man. I'd like to find that girl someday, that beautiful bride that not only will be standing by me and helping me become a better me, and helping me find my common goals, but she'll have those same goals, and I'll be working on that with her to help her reach her goals as well. And together, as we aim and we focus toward a common goal, we'll be able to shoot forward as life draws us backwards, and we have those little annoying moments of delays or setbacks, what seem to be. We know that the tension is getting tighter and tighter, and that tension is actually going to propel us and shoot us forward toward our goals and our dreams. And so I want that to be an encouragement to you, and maybe take a little bit of time and sit down at your computer or go through your photo album or something and start thinking about what is it that you'd like to have in your life. What would the goals be if you could have anything you wanted? If you were to plant whatever seeds you wanted in your mind, if you were going to grow whatever vegetables in your garden that you wanted, what would it be? What is it that you want for your life? And then maybe go download some of those pictures and put them in a little folder and look at them every morning when you get up, and you just kind of scan through those pictures and go, oh yeah, a nice trip to Bora Bora. That'd be pretty neat. I'd like to see that. Or maybe you'd like to see the Eiffel Tower or go to Rome, or so many things that are out there. I mean, this is a huge, big world, and there's so many potential for us. I just encourage you to dream about those things and think about those things and do what you can to, there's a whole nother story about an ant and an elephant, and maybe I'll get into that a little more at some other time. I think I've mentioned it before in others of our movies, but, maybe, just dwell on those things and encourage your mind to think toward those things, to plant those things in your mind so that those things will begin to grow and come to fruition. So, at any rate, it's been a great time spending with you here today. I've really enjoyed this little half hour. I wish so oftentimes that I could get a little bit of feedback from you folks and that you were sitting here with me so you could say, hey, what about this? Or maybe input a little bit of your own thoughts. Sadly, television and radio is not designed that way. However, we do have a means for you to do that, and I really would like to encourage you to reach out to me and contact me, whether by email or by telephone, and JB will be kind enough to put that information on the screen for us here. My email address here at jim.pate@gmail.com. For those of you that aren't seeing your screen, that's jim.pate@gmail.com. And then also the phone number is 616-799-0517. If you call and I'm unable to answer the phone, please leave me a message or drop me that email. And let me know how I've been an encouragement to you, what thoughts may have inspired you or lifted you up and encouraged you, because those things will help me shape my programs for the future so that we can maybe be a little more effective at helping other people, and maybe even be more effective at helping you. For it's my desire truly to bring hope to your lives and to your hearts, because I know what it's like to have been in a dead-end situation where I felt like I had the blinders on and I was simply an old plow horse just plodding along down that same old row day after day after day, or like I like to say, on the old hamster wheel, running as fast as I can all day long and then collapsing into bed at night only to wake up the next morning and I got to go through that again. Chris Brady likes to call it the second. So, but anyway, I do appreciate your time and look forward to hearing your comments. I know you can't be here with me in the studio, but you can bring me your comments via email or telephone, and I look forward to hearing them. So I want you to have a good week, be encouraged, keep your hearts full of hope, and just move forward like that arrow. If life starts to drag you back, just keep in mind that you're an arrow in that bow, and as the stress gets perfect, it's going to launch you. It's going to launch you forward into something victorious and something exciting. So, meanwhile, Christopher Robin likes to say, "You're smarter than you think you are. You're stronger than you think you are." And so, keep pushing forward. I know I didn't get that exactly right, and have a great week. God bless you.
Hi, I'm Larry Treese from Healthcare Associates and Community Caregivers. Just like in sports, when it comes to home health care, you need a good team. We offer private duty nursing, Medicare services, and therapies. We're a part of the community too. We want to be there for you. Give us a call. Home health care at its best, 531-9973.